Hello and welcome. A short video on the topic of threshold climbing and something that has really started to massively bother me about the whole thing. This applies across manufacturers. The poor Narwal Flow 2, which you can see here, is just serving as the example today. But this also affects Shark, Dreame, Roborock, sometimes more, sometimes less. But fundamentally, it's the same issue with pretty much all manufacturers as far as I'm aware of. Especially with a complicated furniture setup like mine here, with these cantilever chairs that also narrow in the lower area underneath, meaning the gap gets tighter, things become problematic. The material and the height are also difficult here. We also have materials that reflect infrared light rather poorly, and all of this comes together here. The current problem with these robots is simply that there is no option to completely disable threshold climbing behavior. Neither during mapping nor during regular cleaning can you define zones where climbing behavior is generally forbidden. And that leads to situations like the one we're seeing here with the Narwal Flow 2. As you saw, it had already cleaned the area behind the chair before, then later drove back there again, and then started this ridiculous climbing circus. But also with incredibly dumb logic, because it is able to drive underneath the chair and even can get out without problems, as we see in this example. And then it also repeatedly tries to jump back into the area again. That's already annoying enough, but the fact that you can't fully disable this behavior, or at least define dedicated zones for it, is ridiculous. Dyson, for example, has non-climbing zones that were already available with the Hurist. I don't know whether they patented it or not. But with Dreame, Narwal, and others, we simply don't have this option. At best, you can create no-go zones. With Narwal, for example, which is complete nonsense in a dynamic setup like this, where the chairs are constantly positioned differently. Otherwise, you'd have to place one giant no-go zone there, or permanently lift the chairs, which is, in my opinion, totally unacceptable. Robots that don't even have this feature often drive through here without any issues. We'll see that again at the end with a Dyson Viz nav run. I'll attach a short clip at the end of the video. That robot is certainly not the greatest navigator of all time either, but it shows that even with a D-shaped design, this works perfectly fine. With Dreame, you can at least stack multiple non-drivable ramps on top of each other as a workaround, though with only moderate success. But please, just make this driving behavior optional. Let users disable it during mapping, and then afterward define areas on the map, especially near edges, where the robot is allowed to check if there's a threshold it should climb over in order to continue mapping the area. And for interiors in general, I would at least expect that if obstacle detection recognizes something like a chair, the robot either avoids climbing attempts there, or purely from a logic standpoint, doesn't keep rattling over these chair profiles like an idiot. This is absurd. It's honestly ridiculous in my opinion. As I said, Dreame and Roborock at least have some approaches where chairs like these are occasionally detected as problematic obstacles. But even there, depending on how the robot approaches my chairs, the detection often fails, and then it still tries to climb over these chair rails. And this footage with the Narwal Flow 2 was recorded using the latest firmware. But again, this issue exists across all manufacturers using this feature. There will also be a full cleaning run of the Narwal Flow 2 coming soon. The full cleaning performance test for the Narwal Flow 2 is also coming soon. Spoiler alert, there's nothing groundbreaking there either, including the mopping performance, so yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye!